If you follow the yellow signs through the trees, they'll guide you down a quiet Texas driveway lined with towering pieces of petrified wood. At the end sits one of the most well-known and respected rock shops in the entire community, a place built by hand, by heart, and decades of dedication. In today's episode, we sit down with Mr. Johnson, a Vietnam veteran whose passion for rocks shaped the family's legacy and left a lasting imprint on this town. His shop isn't just a business, it's a landmark. Generations of rock collectors, travelers, and locals have walked through those doors. This interview runs long, but every story is worth hearing. It's a conversation about resilience, tradition, and the kind of Texas craftsmanship that doesn't fade with time. Timestamps are available in the description. Well, Mr. Johnson, it's nice to meet you.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet a fellow veteran.
Yeah, veteran. And also admirers of horseshoe rings.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck.
I really like my horseshoe ring. It was a gift. I couldn't afford it.
Good story behind it?
No, it was a gift from my wife. Wow. You know, I mean, every good thing about her is good. I have nothing bad to say about my lovely little bride.
Yes, sir. Well, tell us about your parents. What were they like?
Well, my parents, fortunately, they liked the same things. You know, my dad wanted to play music when he was a young married guy because his brother was into music. Yeah. And my mother's first cousin was Billy Strange, who Chet Atkins took his place. He was, I mean, you can't pick up a Frank Sinatra record or a lot of famous records in the 40s and 50s that Billy Strange didn't control. So music's been in our family. My dad's dad played the harmonica. My mother's dad played the harmonica. Back in the old days, we called them French harps. We always had a bunch of them around the house. And we just loved music, you know. And we moved out to California, 1950. We moved out there to look for a different type job. And the countryside was so beautiful. We called it the foothills. It was Tracy, California, Stockton, Manteca, and it was San Joaquin Valley. So music was kind of coming into our family, but the countryside lended itself to so many beautiful rocks. Everywhere we go up to Yosemite on the weekends. Wow. And we'd go to all the Calaveras big trees, the big redwood forest, the trees that were so big they had houses built in the base of them, you know. I had one that had a store in it. One they had 3 stores on it, and one was a printing office, a barber shop. It was 22 feet in diameter, big redwood. But the rocks was everywhere. So since my dad had, as a child, started picking up rocks when he's 6 years old, we started picking them up too. And when we'd leave on a place that we had been to, we'd get home, we had this Packard Patrician. Boy, it was a beautiful big old car and had lots of floorboard space in the back. We'd have rocks in the back of the car. So over the years, we collected rock, and we moved from California back to Texas, back to California, back to Texas. And in the meantime, since Texas was our home base in Port Arthur, the rocks would wind up there. And over the years, we just kept collecting rock no matter where we went.
How did your parents first get into rocks and minerals?
Well,
What drew them to it?
What really drew them into it was my dad and us kids and my mom. We'd pick them up here and there, but in 1966, my dad was inspector for East Texas for federal buildings, post offices, all kinds of buildings, government buildings, things of that nature, customs buildings. And he was inspecting a job, and he was in a stairwell that has multi-stairs going one way or another. And he was standing on a 12-foot ladder on a pedestal, inspecting his job, and he told the contractor, he says, "This is a hazard fixing to happen." He pointed at it, and when he did, it collapsed. So he fell 20 feet down to the ground through the stairwell, and all this concrete fell on him, broke his neck, his legs, his arm, just crushed him. Well, they pronounced him dead there. So my mother got to the hospital. She said, "He ain't dead." Had them take him to Beaumont, to St. Elizabeth's Hospital. And it just so happened a really good neurosurgeon saw the x-ray, told him to drill some holes in my dad's head, put one of them deals with clamps, straightened his neck, got his spine unpinched, and he regained consciousness. So they had to do something about his physical therapy to get him to where he could move around. And the physical therapist because my mom had to take my dad, about 3 times a week. We moved up here because they had this cabin started up here. They go back and forth to Beaumont, and the physical therapist asked my mother, said, "Miss Johnson, what are you doing to him up there in East Texas that's causing him to progress so rapidly with such a traumatic thing happening to his whole body?" My mother said, "Well, we've always collected rocks." Wow. And I went to Sears and I bought him a little Sears tumbler. It was about a 3-pound tumbler. I think she said she gave about $40 for it. Well, that got my dad's idea of, hey, I can do something even though I'm crippled up, because he couldn't really do anything. And so he started learning how to use this little rock tumbler, which is where you put rocks in an enclosed area. One end is a cap, it comes off. And after he went through this process, which took about a month, putting different grits and then putting a polish in there, and they come out, he got to where he was real good at it. So they started going for physical therapy, walking up and down the road, picking up rocks, going anywhere that my mother could drive him, and he was physically able to help, with help, walk and pick up more rocks. So they started going to these little local community shows people have once a month or whatever, trades days, things like that. And they started meeting people. And he really got his interest sparked, because this was his interest starting when he was 6 years old, but he had to make a living for the family. Here he is trying to recover, so he's trying to do something to help his physical ability come back, and it wouldn't interfere with the income money. And of course, it wasn't a whole lot for workman's comp back those days. Yeah. So they got so good at it, my mom started making things. She'd make keychains, she'd make earrings, or he'd polish a rock here and do this with it and that. And when the families would come up to visit, my mom would give our families some of these things that she'd made. And they said, "Margie, y'all need money. You don't need to be giving us this stuff. This stuff is quality enough. You can sell it at some of these trade days and things like that." So the family started paying them money for it. Well, they found they could make a few dollars. So as time went on, my dad heard about Quartzsite, Arizona, and Tucson, Arizona, where everybody involved in rocks goes at least once a year. Wow. That's the top place to go, So they did.
They were the ones that got you guys out.
They got started going out there. They went a couple of times to Quartzsite, but Quartzsite is so much further, and it's bigger, but it's not just rocks. It's everything, antiques, rocks, all that stuff. And they found out that the people that were selling rocks at Quartzsite was going to Tucson and spending a couple of weeks there. So they said, well, since we're basically interested in rock, we're going to go and see the rocks at Tucson. They really got wrapped up good there, and they met some really nice people. They met the Dukes, Mr. Duke and his 2 sons. And they dealt with so much inventory that came out of Brazil. It's just gorgeous merchandise. And it was reasonable. My mom and dad, not having hardly any money, they could still afford to buy a few items and bring them home and do something with them and sell them. Plus going through New Mexico and Arizona and West Texas, stopping at the roadside parks like we used to have back them days, and pick up nice rocks and make things. So it got to where it just got in their blood. Well, as I got out of the Marine Corps, I'm a disabled Vietnam vet, Marine from the 60s. And when I got back home, I was really interested in rock. And then as me and my wife started having kids, my kids didn't mind the rocks, So we'd come up here, and my mom would need help, and we'd make rock beds. That's put plastic down on the ground, put rocks, put borders around them. Or my dad couldn't do anything.
That's the kind of question I had. I was going to ask you, what was it like when they first opened 50 years ago?
Yeah.
Remember?
Well, see, my dad couldn't do anything if there was somebody around him that he couldn't show. He loved what he could show other people to do was something he liked. And then when he found out they liked it too, well, they both learned together. Wow. So here comes customers, and we start showing them what we can do with rocks. And, oh, man, he got it. So he started buying some equipment. It was used equipment. Like the Ramseys over in Trinity, they closed their business, and we got some saws and some tumblers. And they have a machine called a genie that polishes cabochons. That's like this right here. Wow. And so we started, but when my dad would get something, you didn't sit in the chair. You were right there with him. Here, you try it. And over in the museum, we've got a piece of paper, and my wife, her first cabochon she made, my brother's ex-wife, hers, and different family members. He had you make something, and you didn't get up till you learned how to do it. And it was everything. I mean, if it was a big rock we picked up out in the woods, or if we bought a saw, or somebody came up, people were always calling and saying, "My grandpa died," or "My dad died, and they left this rock shop stuff. What do we do with it?" They'd bring it in horse trailers. They'd bring it in pickups. They'd bring it in shoe boxes. Wow. And if those stuff we could afford, we'd buy from. But if it was the equipment, boy, that was the first thing we did. We started, all of us, learning how to use it, Wow. And
what kind of challenges did they face in those first days starting a new rock shop?
Oh, man, it was like this. My dad was physically handicapped really bad because he could hardly walk. His fingers were rough to use because he'd been crushed. His neck was broke, and it had been fixed. So he couldn't always maneuver, He had to go very slow. And we had to do a lot for him. And like my son and my daughters and all the rest of the family, we would help him get around to where he could do stuff, because it wasn't that easy to get up off a chair and then go out down the steps from one of the buildings to where rocks was at to pick it up. So it was a challenge, and especially when somebody would bring something. We had this real old set of scales that we had acquired to weigh stuff, because got to where we were buying merchandise of rocks from people, and he'd have to walk out there, and of course he couldn't put the rocks. Me or my son would put the rocks on the scales, and we would say how much it weighed and give an idea of what it was, and he would tell the people what he had offered. So getting the merchandise from people that would bring it to us, or we could go get it, was challenging. There's a place over in Alaska we call the Caverns. Wow. Oh my gosh.
How's that looking?
It is unbelievable. It's a tract of land, very large, for timber, where they used to come in and cut the timber ever so often. But the revetments that were down like this, some of them be 40 to 60 feet deep.
Oh, Lord.
And you could find some of the most beautiful pieces of rock, little pieces, big pieces. We got some really large logs out of there. What was funny was wherever a rock would sit, when it rained, the sand would wash out from under on the sides, and you could see rocks not more bigger than a penny sitting on a pedestal a foot and a half, 2 feet tall, but they'd be all over the place because there was so much sand, a lot of sandy loam soil. So the bigger rocks would naturally be at the bottom, and the deeper the caverns got, or the crevices, that's where you found the big ones. Because a lot of times we'd be walking in creeks, and we'd kick something in the creek, and it'd be a large, very large rock, and it was hard to get them out of there. But
so, what do you think made them keep going when times were tough?
well, the reason they kept going is because so many of the family members got involved. You know, we loved what we were doing, and family. My gosh, my dad's from a huge family. My mother's from a huge family. And everybody, because my mom and dad really couldn't travel that much in a vehicle, so everybody would come visit us. And my mother was the best cook in the whole family on both sides.
Wow.
And boy, people would come to eat her meals.
What was her best dish?
She made a chicken. What she'd do is she'd fry the chicken almost 100% finished in a special batter. Then she'd put it in this white milk gravy, and she'd bake it in that.
Wow.
And it was just, it was to die for. It was so good. But everything she cooked, she could make a meal out of sea rations.
Do you have a favorite memory of your parents working in the shop?
Well, my favorite memory, I guess, is whenever I built the what we used to call the tree room. It's right next door to the main shop. We had a tree growing in there, and we had poured a slab around it, and it had a grapevine this big around,
Wow.
coming up out of the ground around the tree, and I let it go right around the tree up through the roof. So the roof had a hole in it for the tree and the grapevine to come out, and that was our favorite room, our favorite tree.
Yeah.
Oh, because we loved to put rocks around it. Me and my mom once a year would go to into Walmart or wherever we could find plants. And it had a beautiful dirt area around there with some nice stones or rocks that weighed anywhere from 10 or 15 to 50 pounds that looked good, but we'd put these flowers in there that could handle the shade plus the different temperatures, you know. And I watered them every day. It was just, it was gorgeous. And it smelled good in there too.
So what do you think the shop meant to them? Why was it so important?
It was their livelihood, not just money. Because, really, my mom and dad weren't money people.
Yeah.
They didn't care if here was their theory. If somebody come to the rock shop and say it was a couple and they had a little kid, and the kid was wanting something, you could tell, when somebody wants something. Or if the family wanted to buy something and they didn't have the money, my mom and dad both would say, just give it to them. And I would, or they would. School teachers would come.
Wow.
And school teachers, once they were do shopping, I'd say, why are you buying so many of this kind of this here? Well, I got some students. That's all it took. I said, you're a school teacher? I'd give it all to them. And then I'd make arrangements. I'd go to their schools. I'd talk to their students. I'd bring stuff and give to them.
That's a funny question. Tell me about your decision to serve in Vietnam. Was this a get a letter in the mail, go to work, deal?
Yeah, you might say that.
Maybe okay now.
I was going to Lamar Tech when it was just a little 2-year college over there in Beaumont. I was making 45 cents an hour, working for a Gibson discount store. I was working in a gas station and 2 jobs and trying to get me some education. It cost me $99 to go to college, books and all. So I went for 2 regular semesters, a fall semester, a spring semester. And the first summer semester that they're only 7 weeks long. I said, I'm kind of tired of going to school for a while. I'm going to take 7 weeks off. I did. 2 days while I was at home, I got a letter in the mail. 2 days. Greetings.
What year?
This was 1966.
Jeez.
So my cousin who lived right next door, he had a brother that was mine and his hero, older brother, had been he was a Marine. And what happened was my cousin went in the Marines. And I took that letter and I went over there and I said, when are you going in? He said, I'm going in tomorrow. I said, no kidding? So I ran down to the recruiter. And I said, you see this letter? I ain't going nowhere but the Marines because my cousin is going in tomorrow. They're taking him. He was on the buddy thing with a buddy of his. Cool. So I said, I want to go, and I want to go right now if you'll take me. He said, take this test. So I took that test. He said, sign here.
Wow.
And that's how I got in. And he took me in the next day. I got on one of them trains there in Houston.
Y'all go to the same boot camp and everything?
Yeah.
Wow.
I got to get in there.
Is that Paris Island back then?
No, I was San Diego. Man, I had a lot of people die on me there. They got so hot, 118 degrees, and the rifle range. Oh my God! You're right on the ocean at Camp Pendleton, and a lot of these guys they would take off running. I can understand why they do that. They'd run in the ocean and drowned. They thought they'd go somewhere. I don't know where they thought they was going, but the heat would get so bad. After a while. Well, we just couldn't handle it anymore. And so they would stop our rifle range training or whatever training we was going and running. Because we had to run up and down the mountains there in Pendleton. Let me tell you a funny story about that. My drill instructor was getting out. This was his last guys to run through there. And he had a 59 Buick, two-door hardtop. And here he is driving, bouncing like this, going all over the place in that car. Right next to us, and we're running through the hills, over rocks and grass about this high, tarantulas that big. All of a sudden, you could start seeing the guys in front of you go like this. He run us off a cliff. He went around the cliff in the car. We all got our stuff back together and headed back. But we get so hot. I used to have some pictures. Because the soil was kind of like a red soil here. You get that iron ore all over you. My God, it was pitiful. People you could barely see their eyes. Wow. Would sweat so much. And you'd go you never know if you went in the restroom, those big concrete buildings out there at the ranges, whatever we was doing, you might find somebody dead in there. The heat was unreal, but they didn't just stop, and let everybody wait a month or two. No, it got hot.
That was the saying, once a Marine, always a Marine.
That's it.
A true story.
It is.
So what was your experience like with Nam?
Well, I'm real blessed. I don't have PTSD.
Yeah.
Because I saw a lot of stuff. And because I guess I never talked about it, I didn't have a problem until 1975, I bought a house in the Woodlands, and next door was a volunteer fire department. And one night, the sirens went off, and when it did, I just lost it. I was up in the air, and I didn't know where to go, because I didn't know where I was at, and I didn't know where to go. And once I calmed down, I realized I thought I was back in Nam.
Yeah.
But that's the only really problem I've had.
They call it shell shock back then, huh?
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you what, scary. I'd be working, because I worked in shifts. One night I was working, and I was putting all these bombs together, and this guy come around in charge. He said, listen, the VC are coming through. Don't bother them. Leave them alone. Let them just walk right on through. This wasn't the only time that happened. We had to let the VC get and come around our camp, go past us. And when they did, they started shooting us.
Is this in Da Nang?
That was in Da Nang.
Wow.
That was crazy. Man. Let me tell you a little short. Can I tell you a little short story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was in weapons, ordnance, and I was good at it. I'd load them bombs on that aircraft. I could pick up a 250-pound bomb, stick my fingers through it like that, and pick it up and load it on aircraft. But you get used to doing that stuff. You know, you don't just learn how to do it overnight. You learn how to pick up heavy stuff. But one day, they told me, they said, look, we got a bunch of these fuses. We need them right away for tomorrow for the bomb dump. And that's the bomb dump that blew up in Vietnam. So I had these ammo cans that had fuses in them. So there was 2 in front of me. I was sitting on 2, and I had 2 on each side, because you got to have these little things that look like goes in an Alka-Seltzer bottle to take up space, little sponge deals. You put that in the bottom of a fuse, and then when that blows up, then the fuse blows up, and then the bomb blows up. Well, I start putting these fuses together. I take this timer here or this timer here, depending on what time they wanted to make the bomb go up. And I was sweating so bad that I had this gallon jug, and I had water in it, and then I'd drink it, and then I'd get up after I finished with my 2 buckets. I'd go get more water, and I had this ring of water sweat around me everywhere I sit. And I mean, it was hot. It was 157 degrees. 3 foot above the concrete. You measured 3 foot above the concrete. The Navy did. And oh my God, it was hot. So I got about 2,000 of these fuses put together. I mean, it was a string from here past that building. And something just kept telling me, you're not using your head, because they have a sight glass on it. And when that sight glass is red, that fuse is armed. Ooh. Every one of them was armed. It's a good thing I didn't just throw them in them buckets. What I did is I put them together, I laid them, and I stacked them so they'd be neat, so I could get more in each box. So I crept out of there. I got on a radio. I called EOD. I said, man, I got a problem down here at VMA 225. That's that A6 Intruder, that airplane with that big nose on it, and the F4B Phantoms. Had both them planes. And I said, I got a serious problem here. They said, what's your problem? I said, I got thousands of fuses, and they're armed. And they said, you got what? I told them, boy, they got everybody out of there. Mm-hmm. They got them things, and they hauled them off. I don't know where they took them, but a lot of stuff we threw out in the ocean.
Yeah. But
if that would have went up, the bomb dump would have went off long before it went off when I was there. Mm-hmm. Because, man, that was bad.
So what was coming back like? How did your service change you?
Well, my wife said I was changed a lot. My attitude was kind of bad, because I was tired of being over there. And at the time I was over there, she was living with her mom and dad, and he was dying of cancer, leukemia. And MD Anderson was putting stuff on him they had never tried before. He was their guinea pig. So I was getting all these letters from her about how upset she was. And she had our first baby 2 months after I got to Vietnam. And I didn't get to see any of that. And they kept telling me the Red Cross was going to bring me home, because my wife had a baby. Her daddy was dying. And that big check that I was getting, everything from Vietnam, which was $300 a month, was going to them so they could have food to eat. The military has been so good, and the people that I meet, like you, I don't meet hardly anybody from the Marine Corps, because, the Marine Corps is small. Yeah. My group, most of them got killed. Because if you didn't do what I did, you were a tunnel rat. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially me. They went after me. But fortunately, when I was back in the States, the captain that I worked for in the United States wanted me in his organization. So he didn't let them take me to make me a tunnel rat. Or you're a gunner in a helicopter, out in the bush, and you get shot out of that or down. So you know what I'm talking about. And then tracer rounds. I used to love to watch that. Boy, that was beautiful. Can I tell you a short story? One night, I'm out there putting bombs together and loading them on aircraft, and this young corporal come up to me. He's a smart aleck, and he said, "Hey, Sarge." It was a master staff sergeant was ahead of both of us. He told him to go tell me to go take the tractor that we were pulling the trailer that loading these bombs. He said, tell Johnson to go and fill that tractor up with fuel. And I told that corporal, I said, I ain't taking this. This was at night. I said, because I could see tracer rounds as close from here to your truck.
Yeah.
You know, that's how close the Viet Cong were to shooting us. I said, I ain't going over there and filling this thing up at night and putting fuel in this tractor. He said, you better. I said, I ain't doing it, mainly because I filled the thing up on my ship when I first got there, and it's got plenty of fuel. Well, here comes the staff sergeant. Well, Johnson, I was kind of hoping you'd do that. I said, why? You think I'm crazy? Well, we had a sniper in that tree over there, and we thought we could see his muzzle flash when he shot at you, and we could get him. I couldn't believe he did that.
Wow.
Better run through the jungle.
I couldn't, but that stuff happened,
Yeah.
you know? Oh, man. But other than that, I don't really think about the situation over there. But
Well, when did you realize you wanted to continue what your parents started?
well, as soon as I got set in with my new house, and I got a good job working for Ford Motor Company. What I did, I worked in a warehouse, the largest warehouse west of the Mississippi, supplying every Ford dealership with parts from the Mississippi clear to Alaska and Hawaii.
Wow.
So I got a good job, paying good money at that time. Benefits you wouldn't believe. And
Back when they had pension plans.
oh man, we had everything. We did. It was a really good job. So what I did is we worked off of orders that came in to the warehouse for the dealers. Well, after about 8 years, the market for for cars got bad, and things just got bad for the economy. So instead of firing us or laying us off permanently, what they would do is they would say, okay, anybody want to take a day off or a week off? Or I'd say, I'll take a week off. I'll take a month off. I'd take off 2 months sometimes without pay. I'd come up here. I worked every day up here. My wife and kids would stay home. Sometimes they'd come with me. A lot of times they would. But if it was during the summer, you know, when there was no school. But if there was school, they definitely wouldn't come with me. But I took days off, holidays that I had, and that was one thing my wife complains about in our marriage when I worked at Ford was we never went nowhere because I never went on a vacation. I never have. I never took a day off. I've worked. I would come up here, and wintertime, I would cut firewood. I mean, I'd bring firewood up here because in the warehouse I was working at, we had for outside car parts. We had these pallets, bumper pallets for car bumpers, frames, and everything. They were all oak. I'd load my truck up every afternoon with that stuff. I'd bring it home to my house. I had chainsaws. I'd cut it up. I'd stack it neatly in my truck. And every weekend during the winter, I would bring wood up here. Or when I come up here, I'd cut trees down. Me and my dad. We'd cut trees down and cut the firewood. I'd split it too. So that's how I got really involved with it. Was every day I had an opportunity to get up here and work, and I was building the buildings as we accumulate material. You know.
What do these rocks and minerals represent to you just beyond the business?
Well, they represent several things. One thing is God's creation. Because no matter how many rocks you cut open or whatever, the things you see in them is so mind-boggling. And a common thing that people say, whether they're rock hounds or not, they say, isn't God's coloration unbelievable? What he does to things. And I say, yeah, that's one of the parts of working with these rocks. You get to see things that is not man-made. There's only a couple of man-made rocks, and goldstone's one of them. Huh. And it's very popular in the business, but it's not real. But it's still pretty, and the rock community accepts them. But man, I just love learning about things. Then the part about the fossils. when you see fossils, you know that this was part of something in the past, and you get to see it in a different way. You know, it's amazing how pretty it is. But that's what I like. I like to see the different things that it brings to mind.
What do you want people to understand about Johnson's Rock Shop Bedrock?
I want them to think that this is a place where they can come and they can thoroughly enjoy themselves as an outing for either themselves or their friends, if they bring their friends, or their family. I want families to come in here, and I want children. I don't want somebody coming, oh, don't touch that, don't touch this, don't touch. I tell them, look,
That's me.
this is a hands-on area.
I'm always telling my
If
children.
we can let the kids touch stuff, we will. We just have to watch them. That's all. But don't restrict your family from looking at it, because adults pick up stuff and look at it too.
Yeah, that's true.
If you can't just get it right in your face, sometimes you don't appreciate it. So I want people to have a good time while they're here and be able to leave and want to come back, not have to come back or say, oh, well, we might come back someday, you know. Or when they meet friends that request a place to take a family, like so many of our customers will say, I've got family coming in this weekend from such and such state. I'd like to bring them here. I said, well, bring them. We'll show them a good time. And sometimes I tell them, call me ahead of time. If they got children, I will have the popcorn machine going. And I said, don't forget to tell them now that there's complimentary drinks. You know, they want something to drink. So I get a big kick out of that. You know,
I think that's awesome.
I think people are to enjoy where they go. Because when you go to Walmart, aren't you glad to get out of there? My wife she hates to go to Walmart.
Yeah.
You know, why? Well, because it's not user friendly. And I like, you know, the tumblers. I like to show people how to make their own tumblers. That tickles them to death.
Where do you see this shop in the next 50 years?
I'd have to ask Shane and Christina, because the two of them, they got the reins of these horses. Because I would like to see it still entertain people, maybe sell a few rocks, but I want people to come and still know that they're living a legacy that was brought by family wrought. We worked for this. There's nothing nobody given us. You know, nobody's come here and said, we're gonna build this business up for you, like happened next door. Don't want that. I want my family to know, and people to come see them, that they built everything right along with the rest, those that came before them, like the United States.
Yeah.
We have some bad apples in Congress, but we still got some good ones coming.
Yeah.
That's the way life is.
So last question, if you could say one thing to your parents now, what would it be?
I'd like to say to them, I hope that we have not hurt you in any way as far as what we've done to keep your legacy going. I would like for them to know that what we've done wasn't only for our gratification, but was to gratify the name of the family, because that's what matters.
Wow, Mr. Johnson, it's been a pleasure.
Yes,
talking
sir.
with you.
Okay. I'd like to distinguish something that a lot of people would like to know. I'm sure they would. What's the difference between an agate and a jasper? Because it's like Ford Motor Company and General Motors. That's two major car makers. But in each one of them, they have different models, different colors. Well, that's the way the rock business is. You've got agates, you've got jaspers. Well, this is an agate. An agate is a rock in the rough here. It's called carnelian. This is it polished. No matter if this rock was this big and I sliced it real thin, you couldn't see it if it was a jasper. You couldn't see through it. But you can see through an agate. You can make a thick slab. You can still see through it. Now, see? This is an agate slab. You can see through it.
Wow, it's pretty.
This is a jasper.
Wow.
You can't see through it. I don't care if it was thinner than a hair. You can't see through it. But it's a beautiful stone. So because some people will call a rock a jasper, or it'll call it an agate, and they don't know. And I'm not going to be rude and say, no, that's not correct.
Right.
I want them to know the difference. Now, here's something that's unique. This is a rock that grows. It's called a desert rose.
Wow.
Okay, there's 3 ways rocks are made: sedentary, metamorphic, and igneous. Okay? This is anywhere there is a desert, where there's sand. We get a lot of ours primarily from Oklahoma farmers, or you can get them from Utah. You can get them from Nebraska, Saudi Arabia. What this is sand crystals that through one of these 3 processes, it makes a rock. As pressure, being in the sand, they get together. And as they get the pressure and they get moisture, they get heat, they begin to accumulate. And they get larger and larger. The biggest one I've ever had was bigger than 2 of these chairs, 303 pounds.
Wow.
But you can't make anything out of it because it's fragile. It's just sand crystals. But it gets bigger. So it's like it grows. It is not really alive, but if you take it up out of the sand and lay it up on top like this right here, it'll never get any bigger. But if you left it down in a hole, it would get larger. And that helps people to know. And for example, here's 2 very popular stones. This is bumblebee jasper.
Love it.
See? No matter how thin you slice that, you can't see through it. And you wouldn't want to slice it, because if you did, it'd kill you. The dust would get you.
Really?
Yeah, the dust is very dangerous, toxic.
Wow.
This is polychrome. That's a jasper. Isn't it beautiful?
That is gorgeous.
But no matter how thin you slice it, it's a jasper. It's not an agate. But I thought some people like to know. They like to be able to just pick up a rock and say, this is a jasper, or this is an agate, you know.
Tell them a story about your bolo tie.
The bolo tie, this bolo tie is my dad's, or was his. This is him wearing it when he was playing his guitar. He wore it all the time. He was a guitar player. So I'm one too. So is my son. So is my son's son. It's in the family. We're guitar players. But my dad wore this for many, many years. But the thing that's nice about this stone here is called fire agate. I like it better than opals because it never loses its fire. An opal will lose its fire, or its shine, you might want to call it. But you can pick these up, the stones in the rough, at Big Bend National Park. They're all over the place on the ground. Him and a friend of his, when they were in their 70s up to their 80s, they would drive their individual pickups up there, and they would load their trucks up with rocks. And a lot of the containers had pieces of this in it. And then you put this in a tumbler, which turns, and it begins to semi-polish it. And then if you know what you're looking at, you can put it on a saw and cut out an area, and you can get some of the most beautiful, dazzling greens, orange, reds, all colors, and it will be here forever shiny like this. It will never get dull, not like an opal.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay, are we ready?
We're ready.
All right. I'm going to show you something that I think is kind of funny, or it's a neat thing to know. There's quartz comes in lots of colors. Like you got quartz, and this is citrine. It's got a yellow color to it. You got rose quartz, pink quartz, whatever. But when you got a rock this color, it's called green aventurine, not adventurine, green aventurine. Okay? It's also called green quartz. It's also called Montana jade. But up until recently, when the Indian reservation came about, People would come and buy little rocks this size of the green ones out of our bathtub because they're only 50 cents. They call them their lucky stone. So that's where it's got 4 names. So you never know about a rock. Somebody will say, well, this is pink quartz. Well, there's pink quartz, there's rose quartz, there's all different kinds of names, you know. Now, here's another thing. This is a very popular stone for the last 10 or 15 years. It's called mookaite. It comes from Australia. It is a very beautiful stone. It works easily, and it holds this polish real good, makes great jewelry, whatever. But now this is from Australia. This is the same thing from Morocco.
Wow.
It's mookaite from Morocco. But people that buy this, they don't make jewelry out of this. What they do, for example, if you take a paintbrush, some black paint with real fine hair, and put a V on it, a couple of places, it looked like birds flying in a forest.
It's beautiful.
There's all kinds of things. Sometimes they'll cut these where they're perfectly with a rectangle shape or on a circle or whatever shape, and then they'll put some glue on the back and they'll hang them on the wall. So you can put a little addition with a paintbrush and make something that's lovely out of it.
It's nice.
That's that's something I wanted to show you there. Let's see. This is an interesting thing that happened back in the 70s. Indian jewelry. Boy, was it hot. It was popular. Everybody was buying turquoise, and they were buying rings, earrings, bracelets, whatever. But it's like any good thing. You got these people that come along with companies that want to cheat the customer. Well, this is what they did. This is called howlite. That's its natural state. But if you dye it, whatever color, here's one, this color. You can dye it yellow, orange, different colors. And you can tell that this is this by you can see some of the white, look down in that hole. See here? Now here's what they did. For instance, if you went and bought a bracelet out of turquoise back then, it would be real turquoise, real red coral, and real silver. And it would cost a pretty penny. They would take pewter and make the body of the bracelet. They would dye this color. And then they'd put plastic for the red coral. And they wouldn't call it Indian jewelry. Well, excuse me. They called it Indian jewelry. That way people would subconsciously think, oh, I'm getting some turquoise, when they were getting ripped off. And so you have to be careful sometimes about what you buy, even in this business. Now, something else that's kind of interesting. You see that egg-shaped rock right there by the purse? This is called a septarian nodule. The biggest one I ever had was half the size of that, well, this counter, half the size.
Wow.
And it came from Fort Worth. Wherever there's been a creek, a good running creek, basically clear, you could find these in them. They're just nodules, round. This one was shaped into the shape of an egg. And the thing about it is they're found in the moist part of the sandy soil. So when they take it out of there, they begin to dry. That's what it looks like inside when it dries.
Wow.
Now, Morocco is a long ways from here, probably 4,000 or 5,000 miles. You can find the same rock there, except instead of being brown like this, it's black.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
That is impressive.
It's almost the same thing with, I've got a fish over there that's carved out of,
Want me to grab it?
yeah, you see that fish on that wood stand over there. The fish is carved out of petrified wood, which is oak from Madagascar.
Really?
Yes, Madagascar.
Wow.
Now, I like to use this example because see, you can see the grain in the wood, and it's rather beautiful.
That is.
But I can show you the exact same wood right here out in the yard. I've got pieces out there because our black petrified oak has the same look,
Wow.
but yet they're thousands of miles apart.
Wow.
So lots of times people say, well, like if they got a jade ring, oh, my jade come from India, or my jade come from China. It was carved there. You can get jade just as beautiful, if not better, out of Canada. You can get it in a lot of places.
Believe it.
And it comes in every color because I've got jade in yellow and orange, brown,
That's
white,
crazy.
4 or 5 different colors of green. So rocks have a thing about them that is, it's interesting to see how they can have so many different colors and be called the same name. I don't have a magnet with me, but if I did, this would stick to it. This is a meteorite. You want to feel how heavy it is?
Wow. Look at that.
A lot of people like to collect these. They're hard to come by, good ones.
Is that from an actual meteor?
Yeah, from somewhere out in outer space.
Wow.
That's where this come from. I've got pieces of paper that are certify that these are genuine. Certification of authenticity, right there.
That is awesome.
Okay, these are what we commonly call butterfly wings. They're amethyst. They come out of Brazil. I have a dealer down there that I buy from. And these are very, very popular in, we'll say, businesses to accent some of the decor in there. But this is amethyst. This is called the rind. And this was one nodule that was cut in half and then put on a metal stand. Now, when people think of amethyst, they think of this color here, purple. This is also amethyst. It's called pink amethyst. Comes from the same country. Its chemical makeup is basically about the same. It's a different color. I have some slabs out of it. I have different pieces out of that pink amethyst. Well, I'm going to tell a little story here because I love to tell this story. That's my dad. He was in the Navy. His older brother was his hero, who was a big war hero in World War II. One time he captured 36 Germans all by himself. And he wanted to join. So what he did, he went down to Houston and joined. And they put him in these cattle cars, wooden cattle cars, and they shipped him to San Diego because he's in the Navy. Well, when they got there, they just barely had time to start processing them. You know how it is. Yeah. They put you in there, they put these uniforms on you, they do this, they do that. He was there 1 month and 11 days getting put into the Navy.
That was like his basic training.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, this guy comes in, Chief Petty Officer, he was a Navy, and he said, "Gentlemen, need your attention." My dad was wondering what's going on. He said, "The war has just been ended. You got 2 choices. You can get in them cattle cars and ride back to Houston, or you can stay in the Navy." My dad, first one, "I'll go back home." Okay, 1 month and 11 days in the Navy. Do you know he has a DD-214? He is a full-fledged World War II veteran. And I thought that was really cool, you know. As a result of him being in the military, I went in. That's me and my wife up there. It's the Marine Corps birthday back in the 200th in North Carolina. This is my daughter. She was in the Navy. She's retired out of the Navy, the NSA. This is my son Shane. This is him. This is him. This is his son, who is now in the military. He's been in about 8 years now. He's doing real good. So we're a military family. So we like to relate to our customers, not only rocks, but military experiences. We don't delve into stuff that's really gruesome or anything like that, but we like to tell our stories, you know? Okay, now we're in the rock business now. So how did we get in the rock business? When my dad was 6 years old, he lived in a little place called Midway up here by Madisonville because his mother's maiden name was May. There's still a park name there. Her dad owned a bunch of the oil wells and stuff like that, but he all lost it during the Depression. But anyway, their family was there, and they lived in this little log house that was up on piers. My dad would go around the area there because it's so prolific with rocks, like it is here in East Texas, and he'd put them rocks up there on the sills. When they moved from there down to Alvin, back in the 30s, early 30s, my dad asked if he could take his rocks. His mama let him take the rocks. That's when he started rock collecting. Okay, as he got older, he married my mother. This is him and my mother. This is when we first opened up Johnson's Rock Shop. Wow. We had a friend named Bobby Salyard and his wife Marilyn. They were extremely talented. They were into rocks, but they were into anything that was artisan. Boy, they'd love to do anything. So they made this sign for us. I gave them the wood. We made the sign. And it says Johnson's, that's plural, Rock Shop. That was our family. My dad had a big family. This is New Caney, where they lived during the 50s. I used to spend the early 50s up there for summers. This is my dad's dad, my grandpa, and my grandma. They had 14 kids.
Ooh, big
this
family.
was the last, 1959. This was the last picture because our family got so big, we couldn't have reunions anymore because there were just so many children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. They just kind of individually over the years and time we would visit. But up until the time they died, they were almost 90, each one of them. They would go with my mom and dad, and I would go with them. And we would rock hunt. So that's a long time to rock hunt.
I love that.
In 1966, I went to the Marine Corps. When I got in the Marine Corps, I hadn't been in 3 months. I get a call from my CO that there's been a problem at my home. It was Christmas time. My dad had a very bad accident. He got totally crushed with concrete in a construction accident. Broke his neck, his legs, his arms. He died once. They didn't expect him to live. So they brought me out of the military home to see if I needed to be there instead of in the military. My mother asked me what would I like to do. I said, Mom, I love the Marine Corps. And I see you've got help here at home. And the government, he worked for the U.S. government, they gave him 4 nurses around the clock for as long as it took for him to get to where he could take care of himself. Mm-hmm. So she said, look, we've got all the help we need right here at home. If we need you, we'll call you to come home. So it was okay with my parents that I come back, and I came back into the Marine Corps. When I got out of the Marine Corps, my mom was still taking my dad to Beaumont from up here in Livingston, back and forth, back and forth. And the physical therapist asked my mother, said, Miss Johnson, this man is recovering too fast. What are you doing to him when you take him home? My mother said, well, I bought him a little Sears tumbler. Oh. And we walk up and down the roads when he's able to walk. She says, I take him to these creeks where it's not too hard to get down in them. We pick up rocks. Well, that's what we'd been doing ever since my mom and dad married, because when they married, they found out they both liked rocks. Oh. And we moved 3 times back and forth to California for jobs my dad had. And our relatives would laugh at us and say, them Johnsons, they're crazy. Every time they move, they get a trailer, they haul their rocks back and forth, but they leave their furniture.
Oh.
So we were laughed at for years because we loved rocks. Well, this is when I started. I'm 1 year old. You can tell I'm old. You see the old Model A? And the log house, I think I have another picture in here. But I was, yeah. These are the cars that I was chauffeured around in
That is
when I was a kid.
That is awesome.
This is my dad and his 38 model Hudson.
Oh,
He had the fanciest car in New Caney back during the early 40s.
ooh, that does look fancy.
But when my dad got back from the military, my grandpa had tore it up by using it to drag logs out of the woods.
Oh, goodness.
This is the log house that I was raised in. This is a snow down in Port Arthur, which was a very freak thing to happen in Port Arthur.
Port Arthur?
Yes, there was snow
Wow.
everywhere. Look,
That is beautiful.
but as I got older, I was able to help because we finished the house in 1959. We started on it in 1945. There's some more pictures of the house. I'm kind of proud of the house because
That's
how many
beautiful.
people are born and raised in a log house, you know?
Exactly.
There's another. We lived at the very last street in Port Arthur. Let's see. Yeah, okay, that's enough of the pictures. But the thing that happened was, as we got started, we would, and I got out of the Marine Corps. I would be here every weekend, every day off I could get off from my regular job, and we would go rock hunting. We'd go everywhere we could go. Wherever my dad and mom heard that there was rocks, we went. I took some men that we made friends with that were loggers out here in this area, and when I needed a big truck and a crane, we would go in their log truck. It was Orally Wills. He's a black gentleman.
About what year are we talking?
We're talking about this started way back in I'd say the 70s, up in the 80s, clear up into the 2000s. We'd go in the woods or wherever, like I'd go over to Beat Eyes, Bryan College Station, Huntsville, Madisonville. We'd take these log trucks and all these big, large rocks you see at the rock shop.
Mm-hmm.
I brought them in here with this crew, which would help.
Wow.
They were really good at helping us do that. The smaller rocks, we would walk the creeks, and my kids would be involved in this. And the thing about rock hunting, there's a little trick to it. Most people think, I'm going to walk down this creek and I'm going to pick up all the rocks I can. Well, they'll walk about 50 feet and that is it. That's not how you do it. You take a bucket or a backpack, and you walk down a creek. And I say creeks because when the water's on the rocks, you can tell when they're partially polished. You know what you're picking up. So you pick up what you like the best. You put them in your bucket or you put them in your backpack. You walk just a short distance and then you stop, you pour it out. And you repeat this process as far as you want to walk. You might want to walk just 100 feet. You might want to walk 1,000 feet. But you've got these little piles, okay? Well, when you get as far as you want to go, you turn around. How many people have been in a store and when they walk down an aisle and decided they forgot something, they go back and then they're grabbing something on the other side? You see something different going back.
Yes.
So what you do is you go so far and then you pour your stuff out, and that other pile that was across from you, you go through it, you go through the one you just made, and then you go back to the next pile, and you do this repeatedly. So when you get back to where you started, you got the best out of the first pile going, you get the best out of the pile coming back. Now here's another thing. When you're at a creek, it rains. When it rains, the water washes the rocks, and I guarantee you can go down a creek and you can only go 100 feet, and every time you come back after a rain, you're not going to see the same rocks.
Like arrowhead hunting.
Like arrowhead hunting, flint napping.
Yep.
And that brings in another thing, flint napping. My dad wanted to be part of everything that our customers were. We'd talk about the military. We'd talk about flint knapping. We'd talk about rocks. We'd talk about where we went to get rocks. So my dad started learning how to flint knap, and he got good at it. He did. So he started having these knap-ins, that we call them. And we would have groups of men come here, and most of the men would be middle-aged to old, or they'd be some young kids. And they just loved it because we had the flint, we had the chert, we had glass, and my dad had enough knowledge because he had picked it up and then retained it so quickly. And the old timers that was there that helped would take the younger people and say, look, here's how you do it. Here's the new material, the new tools. Here's some you can make out of deer horns, some out of copper tubing, and different ways. So we would show people how they could inexpensively make their own tools, or they could buy fancy tools, or, you know, whatever it took. But we was always trying to find a way to help people do it according to their economic status in life.
Right.
Because if they're rich, they're not going to pay attention. You know, they're going to get the tools. But that's okay. You know, they earned it. But what we like to do is when customers come to see us, we like to show them some of the items that we have. If they got questions, we find the answer. If we don't have the answer, we get the answer. We don't lie to them because lies are too easy. And the worst thing, you got to remember a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if you tell it, you got to remember it.
You got time for that?
Yeah, we don't have time for that. What we have time for is gathering information. Like my dad used to have a head geologist for Shell when their headquarters was in Houston. He'd come up just about every month, once a month. He would tell my dad certain things about rock, geologically learned in a academic forum, you know. Well, my dad retained it because he had a photographic memory. He could pick any rock out that we had out of the thousands of rocks. He could tell you where we found it, how much it weighed, what it was worth. He could tell you anything about it. He could do it till the day he died.
Wow.
You couldn't pull the wool over his eyes. And my mother was almost that way. She was extremely intelligent when it came to knowing rocks and where we got them, what we paid for them, and all that stuff. And she kept good records.
That's incredible.
But I was fortunate to have parents, mom and dad, and my kids loved doing it too. We would come up on the weekends when we lived in Houston, and we would build these rock beds that are around the rock shop. And about every 4 or 5 years, we'd have to clean them out, dismember them, put plastic back down on the ground, put the rocks back, and then put the larger rocks around. And we retain these rock gardens, you know, or rock beds, so people could walk by. Because you don't want to just pile everything on top of each other.
What is a rock bed?
A rock bed is, say, flint. We got all kinds of flint right here, different sizes, different colors. If we got agates here, a different size, different colors, and they come in different hardnesses. So we tried to have the rock beds to where people could, and we even put signs. We even put signs on the trees. This here is an ironwood tree. This is a sweet gum tree. They ain't rock. But you know what? One day they will be. Just like the state stone of Texas is the palm tree.
Yep.
But it's not a tree. That's what's ridiculous. It's a grass. That's what a palm is. It's grass. And it's the state stone of Texas. But we'd have like the palm on a certain area, and we'd have different colors. Mm-hmm. We would have buckets. I went to the dump one day, me and my wife and kids. We went to the dump to get rid of our household garbage, and the school gymnasium had thrown away all of their baskets. And some people can still remember the little wire baskets you had in a gymnasium where you change clothes to go in out there in your shorts and your T-shirt or whatever. They threw away hundreds of them. We still got a bunch of them. We would set these baskets down and stack them, put rocks in them so people could pick up the basket, and look at them. And if they needed the basket and they bought some rocks, we just let them take it.
That's awesome.
Things like that, Nate, we tried to pay attention to. Everything could be of use. And when we got to selling equipment and learning about equipment, we started designing our own equipment because a lot of people can't afford a $45 rock tumbler at that time.
Yeah.
Because you can get them at Harbor Freight, you can get them at when there was a Sears.
Could you explain to them what a tumbler is?
A tumbler is an enclosed can or rubber bucket with a lid and a bottom, so that when you put rocks in it with grit, which is an aggressive sand that grinds the rock, and water, and as it turns, it gets the rough edges off of the rock. And you have to go through different steps. You start off with a real aggressive sand, we'll put it, but it's called grit. And then you clean it after a certain amount of days, and you go to a lesser aggressive and a less, and you do this 3 to 4 times, and then you put a polish in there, and at the end of about a month, 5 weeks, you've got polished rocks. But we found a way because we don't throw nothing away. I tore old buildings down, old houses down. That's how I built Johnson's Rockshop. I had a friend here in Livingston, an old man. He was 90-something years old. He was going to build a house, a new house, okay? He called me, he said, Steve, come tear this building, burn it, tear it down and burn it right there, clean up the spot so I can build my house. I said, Mr. Barfield, I can't do that. Why can't you burn it down? I said, because I want the building. It's over 100 years old. Your grandpa built it, never had any paint on it or nothing. So I took the building down, took the sides off, and I took the roof off first, an old tin roof. I still got some of the tin.
Wow.
Took the rafters, took the sides. When I got the sides off, I put them on a trailer. I brought them over here, and I stood them up against some trees. After about 6 months, my mom said, Steve, what are you going to do with that whatever that is out there, the building? Or I said, Mom, I'm going to build a building, but I want it to be unique. Well, we call it the museum now. So what I did, because she got on to me, I made a platform, which it didn't have a floor in it. I made a platform, and I took some of the blocks that was under it and around it, to hold the sides up, keep them off the ground, and I put the thing back together again. The 4 sides, and I put the roof on. But inside, because it was the type building it was a shed. It was a wash house at one time, because he still had the old rub boards, and they were there. I got to get those. But the Depression had come through there when they were using it, and the government came by and showed people, farmers, how to can items and give them a Jersey cow for milk. And what they did is they used that building by putting shelves in there to put their canned goods they'd learned how to can.
Wow.
The jars of tomatoes and pickles and onions and things. So I took all that shelf board and I put my shelves back in there, and I had some left over. I thought, this building needs a porch on it. So I put a porch on it. Just before I was finished, my mom said, Steve, I'd like a bay window in that thing. I said, do you want a bay window in this? She said, yeah, I want it right down there at that end. I had some windows that I'd gotten out of a dumpster, and I built me some cabinets for my home, because it's a ranch style. I took these old 6-windowed windows, which were real old. They used to have the weights on them that make them go up and down. And I cut one of them in half. That gave me 3 on one side, 3 on the other. And then I had a big glass door. I made a bay window for her. So I gave her exactly what she wanted. All the other buildings, basically the same thing. Every time I'd tear something down, that would be more material. Because when I built the first building, which is the main shop, when she got our merchandise started in there, she told my dad, she said, I got to have another shop. So we built the other shop. And I tore a house down off of Kirkendall in 1960 in Houston. It was a 3,000 square foot house. And I brought the material up here, and I built several of the buildings. Matter of fact, the building that has my bathtub in it, if you look at the ceiling is doors, house doors I got out of dumpster.
Wow.
The poles that were rafters, they were pine saplings that was growing right there on the spot. So I
Wow.
utilized everything. And then that house that I tore down, I used light fixtures for the museum. I used light fixtures for other rooms. I used everything. I even straightened the
good.
nails and used them.
That's good.
Saved
Repurpose
money.
everything.
Yeah. So I tried to do that. So that's how I built that Johnson's Rock Shop. There's 10 buildings, and it was fun doing it. It really was.
How long did it take you think?
Well, we started on it, and we'll say about 1983, actually starting on it, but I finished it about 6 years ago because I wasn't in no hurry, and we were always changing things. Nothing was got to be done tomorrow. But we worked on it, and sometimes we'd tear something down and move it. There was one building we moved 3 times, before we got exactly how we wanted it. And there's a little 2-story building out there that has rocks in it, and it says Tommy's Treehouse at the top. What that was is my uncle lived down in Anahuac. He had a propane business. He said, y'all ought to, because he'd come visit, y'all ought to come down to Anahuac, get these cedar posts called stacking strips that's floating in on the beach. People are taking them and making big piles and just burning them up. They're good. They look like small logs.
Wow.
So we took a couple of truckloads of those, and we built that 2-story treehouse thing. Then we built the silversmith shop out of that. So any building over there, I can show you material that we got from houses I tore down, even the doorknobs, even in my mom and dad's house, when they were building the house.
Wow.
They liked the old glass knobs that turned purple. I went to Pearland one time. I was at a great big flea market, and there was a guy selling them doorknobs real cheap. I bought 2 5-gallon buckets full. I still got some. They were full mortise locks, like the old-fashioned doors where they went inside.
Wow.
So that's when you see those purple doorknobs or door handles, doorknobs, that's where they come from, Pearland at a flea market.
Wow.
The antiques you see around here and over there, my wife managed for 18 years Livingston Security Storage over by Pueblo Viejo. And when people would move out or throw stuff in the dumpster, I'd go through it. I got so many antiques, it was unreal. One day I was back there in the back on the very last row, and I heard this loud noise. Here's the local dentist and his son throwing something in a dumpster. When they left, I went back. It's that old cast iron stove that's on Building 10's front porch.
Wow.
I got it back out of there, brought it over here, put it in front of Building 10. That bathtub that's over there and with the rocks in it. In 1953, when I was a kid, families lived fairly close to each other. And if you had boys and girls, they would get together. The boys would with the boys and the girls with the girls. And you spend the night on the weekends or during the summer, during the night, during the week. Every time I go over at my Aunt Gladys's house, I'd say, Aunt Gladys, can I have this bathtub? I mean, I was, 19 years old. And I did up until I was 20-something years old. I kept telling her when I'd go visit her, and Gladys, don't forget me on that bathtub. One day, her 2 sons, they both live here, just around the corner, and her daughter lives right across the street. They come up here with that truck with that bathtub.
Oh.
So that's how I got my big bathtub, was from my aunt. She brought it to me, or sent it to me, because they remodeled her bathroom. But over the years, me and my mom and dad have been real close on this building the rock shop. When my kids came along, they were right there. My daughters, my wife. Sometimes my wife would get a little irritated because she'd have to get down there in the dirt, and mess up her long, pretty fingernails. But that's okay. But I have a lot of good pictures to remember.
Good memories.
Yeah, because we've been married 57 years. I met her in the military.
Before we wrap this up, I just want to say thank you for being here for this conversation. Stories like Mr. Johnson's don't come around often. They're honest, they're human, and they remind us of how one person's passion can touch an entire community. Sitting down with him today wasn't just an interview. It was a chance to hear the kind of wisdom that only comes from a lifetime of hard work, sacrifice, and love for family. And if you felt even a fraction of that while watching, then this time was well spent. If this story moved you or made you think about your own family, your own roots, or the people who shaped your life, let us know in the comments. I read them, and they mean more than you know. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the stories we share next. Until then, thank you for spending this time with us. We'll see you in the next one.